Disclaimer. The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the individual speakers, commentators, guests, experts, and our hosts. They do not explicitly or necessarily reflect nor represent the network, broadcaster, channel, and/or program's policy or the views held by this network, broadcaster, channel, or program. The network, broadcaster, channel, or program cannot be held accountable for all or any views expressed during this program. Hello, everyone. It is time for FEM Talk. We love you all out there, FEM Talk Nation. So I am going to bring in Shima Shishi, also of FEM Talk here. Let's bring her in. Let's get this show started. Hey, Shishi.
Hey, FEM Talkers.
Hello. All right.
Hello.
So listen, we like to start this show off with a question.
Always.
Yes. So
all right.
What's the question?
Sure. I got to put my glasses on. FEM Talkers. Tonight's question is a little bit of a social dilemma. And I want to say the title of the question is A Blended Family Issue.
Okay.
My husband's niece is getting married in 8 months. The save the date only had my husband's name, my name, and my husband's 2 children, who are my stepkids. Not my 2 children. All of our kids are between 16 and 24. So age isn't an issue. We're all fairly close, and there are no rifts in the family. The actual wedding invitation might include their names, but I doubt it. What should I do?
That's a sticky situation. Yeah, because when you have a blended family, right, you should include all of the family, particularly unless they felt like they had an age maximum, right, or minimum, right, where they're saying, you have to be 18 years or older or 21 or older. In that case, the younger children, no matter who they belong to, right, which they really technically belong to the couple, because I don't believe in that whole stepkid thing. I feel like if you are with someone, they're all your kids, right? No matter what. You still in the family, then they become your children. So unless there was some type of age minimum where you're saying, kids that, are underage for drinking can't come to the reception, that's understandable. Then no, your kids should stay home. But if that was just we didn't incorporate those children. I'm going to say shame on the family members that are getting married. Because
Mhm.
if you dare to include two of the children, you should include them all, noting that, they have an extended family, that they are a
Mhm.
blended family, and that there are, four children, right? It's four children in the family, that there are
Altogether,
four
yes, that's what I
children
think so.
in the family. So that couple has four children. Biologically, it does not matter. They have four children.
Right, right,
So I'm just gonna say that I would reach out to the person, who the cousin, and this is a family member of your husband, right?
right.
So, and technically, so now it's your family member as well. I would
Mhm.
reach out to the cousin and say, hey, I don't know if this was an oversight, but if you don't have an age minimum, you left out, our other two kids. We
Mhm.
would like to bring our other two kids to the wedding as well.
Right, right.
And have a conversation, right? That needs to be had. And I will say, and this is me saying, I would even offer that if you have a limit on the amount of people and you were just trying to keep, and this is me putting something together, right? Maybe you were trying to keep the two younger kids off because you have a limit. I would even offer to pay for the other two children myself. Now, I don't think it's right that they left them off,
Right.
but listen, weddings are very stressful and they're very costly, right? So if they decided to leave the younger children off because they're trying to stay at a certain number of people, have that
Mhm.
conversation with the cousin and potentially pay for those two kids to go so that all of the family can be included at the wedding. That's my take on it.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I would definitely, the first thing I'm thinking is ask. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, what harm is there in asking?
Yeah.
If it's no, it was already no
Mm-hmm.
because they didn't include their names.
Right.
So if it's no, then it's no. Um, even though, like you said, we're family and we're all blended now, I would pose it to my husband first
Mm-hmm.
because that is his niece. They've had a
Mm-hmm.
longer, I'm assuming, because nothing in there says time.
Mm-hmm.
Time. They've had a longer relationship. I would say, listen, can you reach out to your niece
Mm-hmm.
and ask what the deciding factor was?
Yeah.
Now I do have to say in the question, it does say 16 to 24. So
Mm-hmm.
if there's any age restriction for alcohol, let's say,
Mm-hmm.
or something in that manner, then I think it would be up to the family, husband, wife, and the four kids to decide who is going to go. Or maybe if it is a problem, it is costly, no kids go.
Right.
You and I go, they just miss out.
And,
But
and there's a great
and that's the
alternative.
second right. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the secondary
Yeah.
thing. I really think just reach out and
Mm-hmm.
ask.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the idea of offering to pay. I feel like that would be something me and my husband would discuss if we
Mm-hmm.
felt like it. For me, because my feelings get hurt for everything. I don't I don't know if that would make me feel better.
Mm-hmm.
But they'll be there. I mean,
Right.
no matter what, they'll be there. But I would want to know. I don't want to
Mhm.
offend the person. I don't
Right.
want to assume.
Right.
Ask. Just
Right.
ask. Um,
Absolutely.
and everything doesn't have to be a discussion, but I would want to make sure that we are all understanding. We are a blended family,
Mhm.
now have four kids.
Mhm.
And I would ask him, does your family know that? She did
Mhm.
say we're close. So
Mhm.
I'm assuming,
That they're
they
already
both
aware.
selected. This is the
Yeah.
other thing too. Those names are on the invitation. She has two other kids. What it does not say is, are her two kids in the household with them?
Right. Right.
So depending on that age range,
Mhm.
16 to 24,
Mhm.
the other two kids may be the ones older and out.
And out of the house, yeah,
Right.
because she didn't say which kids
Exactly.
were hers versus his and where they
Right.
were. So that is true. And
Right.
if they're out of the house, maybe that was the consideration. Maybe they
Exactly.
said we're inviting everyone in this
In the
particular house.
household. Right.
Yeah, for this particular
Right.
invitation. So it
Right.
makes sense. It makes
Yeah.
sense. But
It
like you
makes sense
said,
that
it's all about communication.
That's
It's
it.
all about communication.
Yeah, and
Um,
I don't think she'll be offended.
mhm,
It'll be helpful to her
mhm,
if she doesn't think so. But like you said, it's very stressful. It's gonna
mhm,
help you to know that you have to limit or whether you don't have to limit the
mhm.
amount of guests that you invite. Because you get
Absolutely.
excited with the save the date,
Yeah.
but as you start to plan,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
start dwindling down. So
And I want to say this too for the people that are getting married, anyone out there who's, planning a wedding, be mindful of how you send out invitations. If you know that you don't want children, right, you put no children on the invitation and then don't have any kids, period, under, say maybe 21, right? Also, if you know that you don't want to give the option for people to bring other people, don't leave it open for them to invite other people and then get mad because they included other people on the invitation. Can't do
absolutely.
that, right? If it's open, then, listen, if you leave it open and you say number of people and it has nothing on there, they could say seven, right?
Exactly. And I've seen it.
Yeah, I have
I've
too.
seen
That's
it.
why
Mhm.
I'm saying this.
That's
So
right.
be very clear about how you send out your invitations. Make sure it's
Mhm.
exactly how you want it for your wedding so that you're not mad. The people that are coming are not mad. Everybody's going to come, have a good time, enjoy, and celebrate the couple, right?
Listen, I
Um,
have done many an invitation. So what I'm going to tell you is to make sure that your response card has two boxes.
mhm.
Yes, I'm coming. No, I'm
Or
not.
no, I'm not.
You know,
Exactly. Exactly.
you
And you should
know, make
address
what
the
you want.
envelope
And
to that
who
person
you're
and a
speaking
guest or Mr. and
or
Mrs. or Miss so and so. That's how it should be addressed. So I
I,
absolutely agree. Now I'm gonna say this, when it's time for me to get married, we're gonna make this very clear. Very clear. But we just wanted to let you guys. Did you have something else on this before we?
no, I'm laughing. Oh no, another question?
No, no, no. Just I thought
Oh
you had a
no.
comment. I thought you had
Nope.
another comment.
I was just
So
laughing.
so I just wanted to let people know that if you have a burning question that you want answered on this show, please send us an email at femtalktv@gmail.com. We want to address your questions. We love, getting all the correspondence from you and being able to answer your questions right here online. And, if you're out there listening while we're answering your question, feel free to put some comments right here on
Absolutely.
the show because we will definitely address anything that you have extra to say while we are talking about the subject. So just wanted to give you that option.
And after
Right.
the show too. Don't
Huh?
forget. And after the show too, if you're
Mm-hmm.
watching us on Facebook or on YouTube, comment on those platforms.
Mm-hmm.
We go back, we read them, we'll respond to you, we like them. So, and we'll answer the questions. We'll even respond to the same question if
Absolutely.
you have a better idea than what you've heard today.
Absolutely. And we don't want to leave out E360 TV under Trajectory TV. So if you're watching us there, make sure that you send us an email. Send us that email so
Wonderful.
we can address your questions. And maybe what we'll do is we'll put a QR code out there also for you to be able to get in touch with us. So while you're watching on demand, you can just click the QR code and then send us anything that you want to do. So, you all just made me think about that right now because I'm thinking, if you're watching us on demand, we want to make sure that you have an easy way to connect with us as well. All
Yes.
right.
Yay.
Yes. So our conversation tonight, oh boy, we've got a good one. So, and we've got a lot to cover here. So this may be a two-part show, but this is called Conversations We Never Had. And we're going to give a little backstory here about how this came about, because this is really how Fem Talk was birthed, right? It was born out of things that your mother wouldn't talk about, around the kitchen table, things that they just didn't tell the kids, as they are living their adult lives, and things they just didn't share with the children, things that, as you get older and as adults, you wished that, your parents would have shared with you. So this is how now this show is being born again, so to speak, right? Because this is how Fem Talk started. But when we were going through this and we were talking about conversations we never had, oh boy, me and my bestie came up with a whole list of things. So that's why we said this is probably going to be a show with two parts. And then once Dr. Melissa comes back, we'll be talking about it with all three of us. But we think that, there's so much there. There's so much goodness there, and so much that, parents just did not share.
Right.
So let's get into this, right?
Let's jump right in, both feet.
Jump.
Clearly, that was not how it was done.
I'm going to start with the most juicy subject, right? I'm going to start with the sex conversations, right? I want to start there because I know that was something that we just didn't really get into, right? It wasn't a conversation that parents had with us, right? And Shima and I, as you all know, if you've been watching the show, she's my best friend. We grew up together. We've been knowing each other since we've been on this earth, right? So we didn't get those conversations. We did not get the sex conversations. No one said, and I'll be honest with you, I heard about, sex education and protection from school.
Right.
We did not talk about those things at home. And I think maybe, because of the time period that we grew up, maybe they just hoped that we just would not want to have sex.
Right. Or we better not. It was always a threat and a direction. It was direction, no instruction. It was just direction and a threat.
Yeah.
You better not get pregnant. But how do I?
It was almost like it was taboo, right? How would that even happen?
Right. Is that, and then we're also Christian. Mm-hmm. We are God-fearing women. Mm-hmm. So when you tell us don't get pregnant, mm-hmm. and then you make me learn how Jesus was born, mm-hmm. I'm a little nervous. So God could just come about and impregnate me. Did I do something wrong? Was I a bad girl? I know a lot of you are going to come after me for that. But I am strong in my faith, so hold on.
Absolutely. And then, well, that's funny that you said that, right? And I love that point about it, right? Because we were in church how many days out of the week, right?
All the time.
Back then, yeah. And you think about that, and you're like, well, am I chosen? Right? Will God pick me? Will He pick me?
And I'm afraid. I don't know if I want to be chosen. I'm 12. I don't want to be chosen. I just want to jump double dutch.
Exactly.
And run around and play run, catch, kiss, and hopefully not get pregnant from that.
Because we didn't know if that would result in a pregnancy or not. And that's a good point too. Because you had, some of the more experienced, I guess, children in the neighborhood that wanted to introduce the run, catch, and kiss game. And I remember that game. But, so we were fortunate enough to have this really big backyard and a lot of kids that went to our church and in our community. And we all played in this really big backyard behind these 3 wonderful buildings where we all were raised and grew up. And all of the kids used to come and play in this backyard, and it was paved. So we always had chalk, right? We had balls to play kickball or basketball. I had to clarify, make sure you know what the balls were. But to play kickball and basketball and softball, like we had everything at our exposure to have fun in that yard. And we definitely played run, catch, and kiss, but we did not know at the time, what that would lead to, right? Like we had no idea where sex was, what it really was, right? Or what it would result in, or how we could really get pregnant until you went through that sex education class at school, right? So,
and you had to get permission. I think we're from an age where they had to send a note home, and your parents had to agree to let you have that health course.
Absolutely.
And most of the time they said yes, of course, because they knew. And I, if you ask me, I think they felt like, let somebody else tell them. We just got to tell them, don't you come home pregnant.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
It was just like a hush.
Yeah.
for everything. It was,
Yeah.
and it was like, even if it, we were laughing about it, even if it was discussed, it was short lived. I mean, it was
Mhm.
literally direction, and that's it.
Mhm. Mhm.
Excuse me.
What you don't do, what you shouldn't do,
What you don't
right?
do. It wasn't,
Yeah. And
do
when
your
you think about it too, you didn't even discuss like what the body parts actually were,
right,
what they were really for, right?
right,
Like you got and I would say too, sex education back then wasn't so detailed and
right,
descriptive either. So
right,
it was pretty straight and to the point. It was about your reproductive system, right? And how reproduction actually happens,
right.
right? But it wasn't so detailed. Um, so and it wasn't even about protection back then,
No. Mm-mm.
right?
Nope.
So I hope that schools have done better with the sex education.
Hmm.
Um, and you come from a school system, so I don't know if you know this, but I hope that schools have done better with that.
Movies have come out,
Mhm,
they evolved with interactions.
mhm,
They talk more about relationships. They
mhm,
talk about safe sex in both realms,
mhm,
protecting yourself, using protection, and then protecting yourself physically, meaning don't put yourself in a situation that may turn into something that's more negative
mhm, mhm,
than just a loving sexual encounter. I'm trying to say
mhm,
it nice
mhm,
as I
mhm,
possibly can.
mhm,
Um, I don't know what it looks like with all of the technology and all of social
mhm.
media now. I
Yeah.
can just imagine
Well, kids can now go find it themselves, right? You can
themselves.
simply Google anything, right?
Right.
And I'm using that search engine, but there are more out there. But you can simply search for
And
anything that you want and get an answer, right? But I'm going to tell you what my OBGYN said when I was pregnant, right? He said, whatever you look up, whatever you search, I want you to come back and ask me about it. I don't want you to think that that's a final answer. So don't get scared by what you see online. Just come and
absolutely.
ask questions, right? So, I would say for the parents nowadays, especially if your children are in that preteen hormonal stage where, the next stage of life
Exactly.
is coming for them, I would say, start to have the conversations with your
Hmm.
children. Talk about, the things that they
Hmm.
find online. Let them know that they can come to you and ask you any question. I know I was very intentional about letting my son know very, very early what his body parts were.
Hmm.
And then also when you talked about that protection piece and also letting him know to protect those body parts. So I never covered it up. I never gave them nicknames. You hear some of the nicknames. I never gave them nicknames. I called it what it was, right? And I won't
Hmm.
say them on the show right now, but you
Right.
know, I let him know what they were because I wanted him to really understand. And then I wanted him to know that that's a piece of you that you protect and that you
Right.
don't let anybody touch or harm
Exactly.
or, yeah.
Exactly.
So very
I
intentional about
would say,
pitching
it's hard. I'm assuming, we joke about it. We're going to talk about other things that we did not know, but we joke about it because a lot of the times the parents are not ready for the conversation, don't know how to breach it with
Mhm,
their children, and
mhm,
really sometimes just don't want to talk about it. So I would say, not that it's a game,
mhm,
but do what your children are going to do. They're going to Google. I'm
mhm.
sorry, Google. They're going to search.
Right,
So search together.
right.
If that is how you breach the conversation,
Mhm,
let's look up how the internet explains
yeah.
reproduction. Let's look up how, because that's their home base.
Mhm,
I know we teach them, come to me, ask me, bring your questions home, but they have so much access to so many things.
yeah,
You guys are going to have to go there together.
yeah.
So you can
And
still have that intimate conversation, but take
and
it to where they're comfortable.
yeah, yeah. And to that point, right? Because there's so much out there and there's so much information, kids think they know more than you.
Right.
When they're teenagers now, they think
That's
they know
right.
more than you, even though they don't have life experience, because
Mhm.
they have so much information right at their fingertips. They feel like you don't know anything, right?
Right.
So, so I just wanted to put that out there. That's a good point. So I'm gonna move into our next one, which is like next steps for this, right? Marriage.
Yeah.
Start that one off. Start that one off, Bessie.
I gotta say, I saw marriage in my house.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say this to my mom, and she knows it. My mother was never a promoter
Mm-hmm.
of marriage. She
Mm-hmm.
was not a demoter of marriage either. Let's
Mm-hmm.
just be clear. She just never, she talked about people being married,
Mm-hmm.
meaning, they were married and they've been married for these amount of years, and or they had a time when they were broken up. I would hear stories about how they lived. She never gave me direction
Mm-hmm.
on being being married, not so much being a wife or being a woman who's married, but more so never a direction on where having a marriage or
Mm-hmm.
getting married.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, they're going to teach us how to cook. They're
Yeah.
going to teach us how to clean. When you have your own, now I do remember hearing, oh, when you have your own husband and children, you need to know how.
Mm-hmm.
But
It
she
was
was
more about being self-sufficient
right.
versus,
It was
you have
the
to go off and get married.
application of
Yeah.
right.
And I
It was
think too,
really
so
right.
different from other cultures, right? Because there are cultures that, that is the next level. Like they promote marriage. You understand that that's the next steps. And some cultures even set that up for you, right?
Absolutely.
So, but that was never, and I think, too, culturally, when you think about if marriages didn't work out in a culture, you weren't grooming your kids for
Right.
marriage,
Right.
right?
Right.
So it was something that
Right.
was what just wasn't discussed because it wasn't something
Mhm.
that worked in the community or in the culture.
And a lot, like you said, communities and cultures,
Hmm.
depending on where and who,
Hmm.
at a certain age, there was always this unspoken knowledge or unspoken note that you should be married.
Hmm.
Most people, for a lot of people, it's 25. So when
Hmm.
you were closing in on 25, a lot of people would ask, "Oh, are
Hmm.
you not going to get married? You're not ready to get married?" I
Hmm.
got to be honest, my mom didn't do that.
Mm-mm. Mine neither.
She did not say, "Oh, why are you not getting married?"
Yeah.
Now, as I got older, what she would say is, because I had boyfriends, so she knew there was some relationships.
Hmm.
But she would say that, "Oh, I want you to find somebody nice, especially when I'm single,
Hmm.
and there's things like I'm doing things, I'm going places. Oh, I want you to find somebody nice." But it was never a push for
Hmm.
marriage. And like
Hmm.
you said, I'm assuming it's most likely because listen, hers
Things
did
didn't work out.
right.
Yeah. And I think for me, it was completely on the other side of it. Like the marriage wasn't even a mention because it was more like, you know, go out here, be independent, get your own, have your own thing, do your own thing, know how to take care of
Mhm,
yourself.
mhm.
That was pushed more than marriage. So the other
Marriage,
side, the
right.
other part of the conversation just wasn't
Yeah.
mentioned.
That
Yeah.
just went along with, and I think that's the similarity too. Like, unfortunately, because like my bestie said, we've been together our whole lives. Our
Yeah.
families have been together our whole lives. Our moms were friends before we were.
Yeah.
So, um, there's going to be similarities in that upbringing,
Yeah.
and that was it. You were more concerned with making sure that you have an independent mindset
Yeah.
and can take care of yourself,
Absolutely.
than a blended mindset and
Mhm.
attaching yourself to someone.
Mhm.
And listen, it's not good or bad.
Mhm.
It's not. It depends on your life and what you would want and what um works for you.
Yeah.
Not saying the great part about it, I do have to say it's almost like a disclaimer. The great part about it is we were still, and I can say this for you because I heard you say earlier, we're still open. We're
Yeah.
wanting that connection.
Yeah.
Marriage is definitely a milestone that I want to, encounter,
Yeah, for
uh,
sure.
regardless of whether I was told about it or not.
Mhm.
I watched it, and from a certain standpoint, I felt like, I think I want that, and
Mhm.
that's never changed.
Mhm. Mm-hmm.
So
And as you start to experience life, you pick up things along the way from other people too, right? You respect your parents and their journey and their experience and where they came from, but then you also have the opportunity to take a look at, in this case, we're talking about marriage. So take a look at other marriages that are working, that people are intentional about continuing marriage and making it work, right? So once you have different levels of exposure, then you can start to decipher in your own mind, well, do I want this? Do I not want this? And, how can I go about, thinking about marriage even before
right.
it actually happens, right? So, hey there, mommy. So my mom's out here. Yep, we are talking about conversations that we never had growing up. Now, I will say this: there's nothing that we can't talk about now. And I'm just gonna. This is a shameless plug for tomorrow because now we're going to be talking about on the Whole Living Show tomorrow about conversations that we now have to have with our parents.
The reverse.
So you guys make sure that you tune in for that tomorrow evening.
And I just want you to know these are going to be the faces tomorrow.
Yes, yes. But to continue this conversation, in terms of conversations that we just didn't have, I
Right.
want to move over to more of the kind of like wellness care, and I'm calling it wellness care because I'm thinking about health, life insurance, and we're going to bundle these a little bit because they kind of all go
They
together.
overlap.
Finances and investing, credit, right? Like all these things that you weren't taught in school
Mhm.
and you weren't taught at home, right?
Right.
On
Right.
really how to make things more efficient for yourself, right?
Mhm.
To live more of a fulfilled life from those perspectives. So we're going to get into that, but we're going to take a quick commercial break. Stay tuned, everybody. Don't go anywhere. This is about conversations that we never had growing up that now we are talking about right here on Fem Talk. Don't go anywhere. Here we go. All right, and here we are, and we are back. We're talking conversations we never had
Yeah.
growing up. So we're bundling that whole wellness care conversation together, right? Because we just didn't talk about those things, and I
Mhm.
think it comes from a place of things get passed down, right? And what doesn't get passed down, you just kind of skip over because you just don't know, you don't have any knowledge,
Mhm.
and growing up the source or the resource, right, that you had
Mhm.
to look up
Mhm.
information was the encyclopedia,
Media.
right? Can you remember those encyclopedias where the people used to come around to your house? Okay, we're aging ourselves right now.
Well, I was gonna say, I was gonna say, nerd alert, nerd alert.
I
I
read
was
them.
super excited when the Encyclopedia Man came
Yes,
around
yeah,
and we got the whole Encyclopedia Britannica.
yes,
I was super excited.
yeah,
That was a nerd alert.
yeah.
But you could look up everything.
Hmm.
Everything. Yeah, you can look up everything. I was getting ready to say, we didn't think to look up. I'm going to tell you, yesterday, my bestie and I were looking up words that probably would have never come across our parents' minds,
Hey,
and
friend.
we learned them from friends,
Yeah.
and it wasn't good. I don't think I would have thought to look those up then because we just didn't know those words.
Yeah.
Imagine if we did.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah,
I
those were doozies. We'll have to
probably
talk
would have got
about
in
those
trouble.
on another show.
Right? Probably would have got caught and get in
Fem
trouble.
Talk after dark.
Right. Exactly. But yeah, you're right. That encyclopedia was our friend.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
So when you think about, kind of that bundle of wellness care, right? Tell me something that you wish you had known,
Mm.
kind of growing up that now You do know, right?
I think I felt like I had a lot of frustration
Mm-hmm.
around right after college, even though I learned a lot in college.
Mm-hmm.
I just felt like life stuff
Yeah.
was so frustrating to me. Buying a car,
Mm-hmm.
knowing about credit, like you say, we didn't discuss credit. We didn't discuss credit score.
Yeah.
So, but like I said, there's always a direction. There was always a don't do this. So it was more so as you get older and you talk about things like things that you see that are tied to like your credit score. You see them use a credit card or there's a credit card account or some kind of credit account. And the direction was don't mess up your credit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but you didn't even tell me what credit was.
Right. And
I don't
how do I not mess it up?
and right. I
How do I
I
even
use
start
credit card.
credit? Right.
Right. And
Yeah.
the only thing is, let me figure that out. How do you
Mm-hmm.
mess up credit? Well,
Mm-hmm.
she's talking about credit cards. So in a sense, you're
Mm-hmm.
and I as a child, I'm thinking, don't get a credit card.
Mm-hmm.
But when you get out there and then they offer it to you, and I can only speak for myself, I was explained at 18
Mm-hmm.
that, oh, you're 18, you can have your own credit card. I
Mm-hmm.
can't.
Mm-hmm.
So then you end up with 12.
And
You
then
know,
you mess up your credit.
right. So you know what that means, right?
Right.
Okay.
And you're
So you have to
18 and
learn.
you're going into college and they want to give you every credit card imaginable and you don't have any money to really
No,
manage the
no
credit,
job.
nor do you know what makes your credit go up or down. So
No,
you have no idea. You're just spending because they're giving it to you,
right.
right?
In your mind, if
Mm-hmm.
you're naive in any way, in
Mm-hmm.
your mind, it's free money.
Yeah,
And you know why? Because you don't have a good financial background.
right.
You were not given the tools.
Yep.
You were told that money does not grow on trees.
Right.
And okay, you're right. And you were told that you needed to work hard.
Mm-hmm.
You were given a great work ethic,
Yeah.
but not the knowledge of what money is and where it comes from
Yeah. Yeah.
specifically.
And how you
So,
manage it. How do you manage
right.
it? Right? How do
And
you save? How do you
right,
invest?
right.
How do you make sure that you're paying your bills, right?
And then
How does all of that affect your credit?
absolutely. And we
Yeah.
have to give them some reprieve
Hmm.
because they possibly didn't know themselves.
Right.
They learned the hard way like we did.
Hmm. Hmm.
So
And this is, to all the educators out there, right? I do feel, and my son is getting out of school now, so it's not applicable for him, but for those coming up through junior high school and high school, like there
yes,
needs to be programs in school, courses that talk about money management, that help kids to learn about credit and money management and investing before they even get out of school, right?
right.
It's not something that school actually teaches the kids. I can remember being in New Jersey, and I always talk about this. If you guys have heard me talk about the educational system in New Jersey, and it wasn't so much that that was a part of the curriculum there in the town that I was living in there, but the parents fought for investment classes, right?
That's
To at least
right.
introduce the kids to how do you start to invest. My phone's on ding. How do you start to invest? How do you balance a checkbook, right? Something that may seem so
You write a
simple
check.
that exactly, well, we don't, people don't write checks anymore, but at the same time, you need to know how to balance your checking
Mhm.
account, right? Or your savings account, right?
Absolutely.
And knowing how to um, disperse your funds also, right? Because the old way of just putting it into a savings account where you're not going to actually make any real money off of it, right? is not the way to go these days, right? But we didn't even know, like, okay, how much should I put in my savings every time I
Right.
need? How much do I need to use for my bills? How much can I now invest? When I need to invest, where do I need to put it, right?
Right.
What
Right.
has the most return, right? No one spoke to kids about that back then, and they're not really doing that now, especially not in education. So for the educators out there, let's push for these things to happen, for kids to learn more about how they better take care of themselves, because they're not prepared when they come out of high school to
Right.
take care of themselves and to know what money management and finance and all that really is.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I know earlier you talked about life insurance
Mm-hmm.
and how
Yep.
what we know about that. And all we know is you need money to bury you.
Yeah,
You have to have something to bury you.
that's what was taught.
And the ins and outs of what you can use it for if you have it,
Mm-hmm.
or what opportunities it affords you,
Mm-hmm.
if you have it.
Yeah.
But a lot of that took what? A lot reading, just
Yeah.
reading the fine print and understanding it. But they just, that I think it's an error when we grew up. They were just do what they got to do, parents.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
know, we
Mm-hmm.
got to make this right. We got to work, take care of these kids, make
Yeah.
sure they grow up and they're safe and they're somewhat sane, and get them out there.
Somewhat.
And I would say, like, even my mom was an insurance saleswoman, and even though she knew the ins and outs and studied the ins and outs, it was still not a whole lot of discussion around this
Mm-hmm.
is what it is used for. This
Yeah.
is the opportunities that it'll offer you.
But now I challenge that too, because I actually I took the insurance exam. I actually was an insurance agent technically on paper. I didn't actually do it, but I
Right.
actually took it. But they did not talk about the investment side of life
Right.
insurance. It still was more about, back then, this is back then, they do that
Right.
now, right? If you speak to a life insurance agent now, they do know about the investment side. But that
Exactly.
back then they did not do that. So they were not speaking about how you can utilize your life insurance policy to invest when you have a whole
Right.
life policy, right? And then there's even other things that, and it would, not to get into this fully, right? But making sure you have the right terms on your insurance,
Exactly.
right?
Ex-
There's a lot that goes with it that even when you take the exam, you're not taught. Back then, that you weren't taught. I'm going to speak about back then because I haven't
Right.
took that many years ago, over 20 years ago, right? Um, but I just want to say, like, how things start to evolve, right? And people start to learn. And listen, because there's so much information out there, and I always say this on every show, you guys see me on here, I'm like, go out and do your research
Right.
on these things, because you have so
Mhm.
much information now. But don't take the status quo of what you've been learning.
Absolutely.
um, take put yourself in a position where you are curious and you want to know a lot more because you want to better your life. Um, so I wanted to mention that as well. Um,
Yes.
so go ahead. I'm sorry, I cut you off a
No,
little
no, no. That
bit.
was really the gist of it. Because what else is there? It was always just have it.
Yeah.
It's always something you needed to have,
Hmm.
not the benefits of it. And honestly, because I'm sorry for that noise, um, what I guess the lack of knowledge about it, I am in. I don't know if you want to call it an upside down insurance policy, but if
Mm,
I knew more about it when I established it, I probably wouldn't have picked, like you said, the terms
yeah.
that were chosen. Um, you live and you learn.
Yeah.
And I don't know. We went to a lot of outside sources to learn a lot of things, and it's okay.
Hmm.
But it would have been helpful if we knew those things
Yeah.
just coming out of the house. You're bright eyed and you're 18 and you're going out there with the world at your face and
Hmm.
your parents at your back,
Yeah.
because that's just what life is.
Yeah. And then you have me thinking about something right now. As my 18-year-old is ready to graduate college, and graduate high school, not college. Jesus, I'm
All
moving you
right.
forward real fast.
All
But
right.
graduate high school. But I think about now, and this is just me saying this now for him, like, he needs a mentor, right? Because
Yes.
listen, kids won't necessarily take everything that their parents are saying, because we don't know anything to them, especially this age of kids now, and their access to information. But get your child a mentor who's a little bit older, who really has a handle on like this part of life, right? Life
Right.
insurance,
Mhm.
investing, credit, money management, who can help them figure out what they need to do, with your support in that,
Right.
right? And you might learn something yourself as you go through this with your children, but get them mentors who really know what they're doing here.
Absolutely.
And that takes homework too, right? Do the research on the
Mhm.
people that you decide to engage with your children to learn these things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And just that umbrella portion to Brent, you're talking about the wellness, um, the actual physical wellness.
Hmm.
We also talked about going to the dentist, going to the doctor,
Yeah.
going to the eye doctor. A
Yeah.
lot, you would be surprised at how much lack of knowledge there is around our teeth
Mhm.
and our eyes, um, that
Mhm.
develop later. And we could, like you said, we would come from a different decade. So we are speaking from that 70, and we're just gonna tell it, that
Yeah.
70s decade. But I wonder, and Fem Talkers, I would love to see your comments. I wonder what it felt like and sounded like for the 80s, the 90s,
Mhm.
the 2000s. I'm assuming it definitely got better because, of course, there's way more people who are more focused on having better gum health,
Yeah.
teeth, teeth health, eye care. Um, but just knowing from our standpoint, it wasn't something mentioned. If the school didn't mention it, it wasn't like, okay, you have to get your eyes
Yeah.
checked. I did say to Tracy that my mom was a stickler for the teeth and the eyes, but she was also a glasses wearer.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
sometimes it matters if it's something that has affected them,
Yeah.
for them to make sure it's reiterated in your life.
Yeah.
You're the
And
glasses wearer.
back then too, I can remember, and my mom can attest to this because she's watching, but like going to the dentist was kind of a little taboo. It was like it was
Mhm.
scary,
Right.
right? Because of the equipment that they used.
Mhm.
And so a lot of people in the community were scared to go to the dentist. So if the parents were scared, then it wasn't really passed down to the
Right.
children. So the children weren't used to going. So it was like you just didn't really know about it.
Mhm.
It made an interesting point about school usually only points out something when they really feel like there's a big issue there,
Exactly.
particularly with the eyesight, not so much with the teeth, right? They weren't concerned
Right.
with the
Yeah.
teeth, but with the eyesight, because if a child can't really see the board or is having trouble, then that's when they would mention it to the parents. But
Right.
there's already a problem that exists versus being preventative about those things, right?
Exactly.
um, so it's interesting how that worked out. I know that for me, and yep, I'm telling on you, mom. I love you, but I'm telling on you. For me, I didn't start really going to the dentist until I got to college. And I found out that, with my insurance, that my dad's insurance, that I could go to this dentist by my school and start to make sure that I get my teeth done. And then when I came home, I just extended that. And then I just went
Right.
crazy, right? I had braces twice, all that good stuff, right? But um, you live and you learn and you start to move forward and progress in the things that you want to do for yourself. But yeah, I definitely, and again, I'm mentioning this for parents too. I definitely became real intentional when it came to my son. So he's done everything early, right? He's always been at the eye doctor, he's always been at the dentist, he's always been at the doctor's office. And for every little thing, yep, we are going to talk to the doctors. And I'm going to say this as a health coach, right? Definitely talk to the doctors, but always remain curious about your health care. Always
Absolutely.
ask questions, always do research, right? Doctors are amazing. You have amazing doctors out there. You have really good doctors out there. So this is not to knock the medical profession, but
Absolutely.
you have to understand your own body and that of your children, right? To really start to be curious about things, to be able to do what's right for you and your family. So I want to mention that. I want you to do your research. We just recently here in my household, we had some concerns that my son had, and we really had to do some research behind it. It wasn't just take what the doctor says and that's done, because that was not helping, right? So you have to do your research. And now we're at the point where wellness is he's finally recovering from what he was dealing with. But if we had not done research, and I'm saying we because my son is a stickler about doing research. If we had not done research, then he would have been still in a position that he was in pain and suffering with something. But he's come out of that, thank God. Oh God, see, so here's my mom saying, that's right, took years to learn from my parents. And then she's saying here, I'm so glad that I've learned, even if it did take some time. Right. So
Absolutely.
absolutely, absolutely. So you live and you learn and you start to progress. Um, all right, so I wanted to get into some of the more fun things before we close out the show, because this is something that me and my bestie were talking about. We're talking about swimming, right? So conversations you never had, right? So our families were not big on being around, being in large bodies of water. You could go to the beach, you could go to a lake, but
I was
actually,
going to say, we went to all the beaches, lakes, and pools.
yeah, yeah. I can remember. So we'll tell on ourselves a little bit. In our town, we had this big town pool, was almost like a beach. It was huge. The deepest end was 11 feet, right? And so me and my brother, we decided that we were going to teach ourselves how to swim. And both of us being daredevils, my mom doesn't even, I don't even think my mom knows this story. Both of us being daredevils, we were like, okay, we're gonna go on the high dive and we're gonna jump into 11 feet and then we're gonna figure out how to swim. And we're just gonna be there for each other, right? Neither one of us knew how to swim, but we're going to be there for each other.
Right.
So that's what we did.
That's how you learn.
Gratefully, we just weren't scared of water.
Right.
So we just tread water until after we jumped off that high dive and into the 11 feet, we tread water until we got to the raft that was out in the middle of this pool that I'm talking about. But I would implore you to get a
I think at that time, when I think about all the things that we're laughing about and talking about, they may not have had the money,
right,
the resource to be able to give us swim lessons. And I think when we were talking about this topic, that's what I said. I was like, well, they could have at least said to somebody, listen, somebody's going to give you some swimming lessons. And Tracy was like, well, nobody knew how to swim. None of them. So who were they sending us to? You're right. Yeah. Nobody had that skill.
Yeah.
So, and of course, at that time, there was limited money. Then nobody was sending you to the boys and girls clubs and Ys and stuff to learn. I'm not saying anybody, but it wasn't us.
Yeah.
Learn how to swim. But we were always in those areas. Thank God. And you know what? Now, and I know we're coming close to the end, I'm going to say that it was the things that they did teach us that pushed us to learn, whether it was the hard way or the right way, how to do the things that they didn't talk about. So if you didn't tell me, this is how you swim, this is how you breathe, this is how you stay afloat. What you told me was, don't get in that water, and because I can't
drown.
Right. And I don't know who's gonna get you. And
right.
You're gonna
and I have another
myself and how to be independent. So let me see. I better use this independent mind. I want to get in that water, but I better figure out how to get out in case something happens.
Yeah.
So it was the push to learn to swim.
Yeah. It was, don't kill yourself because then I'll kill you, right?
Right.
But I can remember
because I'm gonna beat you.
Exactly. I can remember we used to frequent Myrtle Beach because my uncle and his family moved to Myrtle Beach. So we used to go there most summers, a lot of summers, right? So we had this bus ride we took down there, a lot of family members and extended family members that went with us. And my cousin, her son was little at the time. He was maybe about 4 or 5 years old, if that old. And he decided, also a daredevil, not scared of anything. He decided that he was just going to run and jump in the pool. Now, we were all at the pool, and he decided that he was going to run and jump at the pool. Now, none of us were really swimmers because we just didn't know how. Right. Luckily, right? And his mom was there. She was there, but she was screaming, "Somebody get my baby!" because she didn't
She can't
want to
swim.
go in. She
Right.
didn't know how to swim. So luckily, my brother's friend was there who knew how to swim
Know how to swim.
and went in and got him. But this is just a perfect example of, some of the things that you should do to help your kids along the way
Right.
as they start to explore life, right?
Pair them with people who can swim. Look.
There's lessons. There's good lessons out there now.
Right, right.
Just take them for lessons. But we love you guys out there. There's so much more for us to talk about, conversations that we've never had.
We got to
So we're
bring
going
this
to
one
do a
back.
part 2 on this one,
Because the
because there's
juicy ones
definitely a
we
lot
left
more.
off. We left some of the juicy ones. You
Yeah,
guys really need to talk to us about that. We need to
yeah,
talk about that.
yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. So we love you all out there. We will see you right here on Fem Talk next week. And listen, go over to the Whole Living Show tomorrow at 7 p.m. We're going to be talking about conversations that we now need to have with our parents. So you don't want to miss this, because it's
I'm
going to be
packing my
good.
patience now, so we're just going to be ready. So come join
Absolutely.
us.
Absolutely. Take care, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.